We are being recorded.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Hampstead School Board meeting of May 12th, 2020. Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair, I could do that. Or would you like to read your notification before I go ahead and do that?
Sure, I can read that first. As chair of the Hampstead School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are, 1, providing public access to the meeting by telephone. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen to this meeting by dialing the following phone number: 888-475-4499 or 877-853-5257. Number 2, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom telephonetically. I think I said that right. Instructions have also been provided on the district website at hampsteadschools.net. Number 3, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please email hmstechnology@hampsteadschools.net. 4, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Melissa, will you please take a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. Megan Malcolm.
Here.
Megan Malcolm.
Here.
Thank you. And would you mind stating if there is anyone else in the room with you tonight?
I am alone in this room, and I am also alone in this house.
Thank you. Caitlin Parnell.
I'm here. I'm alone in the room. There are members of my family in the household.
David Smith.
I am present. I am alone in the room with members in the house.
Jim Sweeney.
Present, alone in the room, members in the house. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Yusenka.
I'm alone in the room, family members in other parts of the house.
Okay. And also seated at the virtual board table is Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Earl Metzler.
Present, and I'm alone in my office, but there are other members of my family in the house.
Thank you, Melissa. Board members, in your packets, you have meeting minutes from our regular meeting of April 21st, 2020. And additionally, we had, I think, a set, yep. Wait, did we have a non-public? I don't think we did.
Yes, and set non-public from the same date, April 21st.
Oh, I'm sorry. My pages were sticking together. My apologies. We have meeting minutes for both a public and non-public meetings from April 21st. So please take a moment to review, and then if I could have a motion in a second. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Melissa. Is there any discussion?
No.
Seeing no virtual hands being raised. Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
and Mrs. Yasenka.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, I believe we are doing administrative reports tonight for the first
Yes.
time in our virtual world.
We will go with Mr. Collins as normal protocol first.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm assuming you can hear me. Can you wave if you can hear me okay? Okay. It's nice to see you. I'm sitting in my virtual office here at the school, and my wife is upstairs in case you want to know. The central school report, I know I shared it with you, but since we're sitting in a virtual meeting, I'm probably going to be a little bit more about talking about what's in the written report. I'll begin by saying you might notice that the enrollment numbers continue to grow. Even though we haven't been in school since March 13th, we've actually seen the enrollment grow since I saw you in February. We actually had a student scheduled to start next week in our preschool program as an example, but we did delay that start until the summer or fall. We are working heavily right now on the enrollment of all of our new students coming into Central School. That would include all the preschool and the kindergarten. I literally have spent hours reading lots of emails and trying to keep ahead of all of the little Google databases to track all of the new students coming into Central School. So if a parent is out there that is has a child that's 3, 4, or 5 years old, or even an older student wanting to start at school, all they need to do is call the school office and hit extension 1103, and it'll pop up in my email, and I will give the parent a phone call. And I have sent out gads of emails to families to try to encourage them to fill out all the forms. We, being in a virtual world, one of the big things that's changed on our enrollment is we typically screen all of our children in the spring. Since we can't bring the children into the building, we are hoping to do face-to-face screening with the children early in August. I've talked to the teachers to have some of them in position to do that screening. I don't want to read through all the stuff that's going on in remote learning because I know Mr. Flynn is giving you a rather extensive report, and there's a lot of really wonderful things that are going on. So I would like to take a different approach. I would just like to say that we want to say thank you to the students and all the families and the staff for doing some amazing things. As an example, a big tradition in the town of Hempstead is to do a big community celebration. I will tell you, the staff, many staff members have gathered together to put together a virtual community presentation. We even actually have a nice young man here in town who's a dad at our school that's going to be doing the video production for us. So it's kind of fascinating to see what was put together. I've seen some of the early pieces. That's happening. That's an example of community members and staff just being innovative to make it happen. We're even going to do Memorial Day. We're going to send it out to all the families that when we get ready for Memorial Day weekend. As you know, we're closing school out on the 29th of the month. We are working on a big parade to celebrate all of our students as we close out that week. I talked to Mrs. Denola this afternoon about something we want to do special for the 4th graders. So all I'm going to say is right now, there's a plan going on, but we want to keep it kind of a secret until we can share with the staff and the children exactly how this is all coming together, because our 4th and 5th grade teachers have actually been working together on doing some really cool things for the kids. I really want to say thank you to lots of people. I want to start off by saying thank you to the Hempstead Food Pantry. They've done an amazing job. We sent over a bunch of our things. We've been trying to give them things along the way, but we're just one small piece of all of the community contributions that are going in there. There's just literally thousands and thousands of pieces of food and items going through the food pantry, and they're just doing an amazing job. I just want to say thank you. I know some of my staff are over there volunteering because they're in the community, and it's incredible to see what they've done. I've been in town a couple of times and walked through and just seen the amount of food that is just being prepared and going home. I want to say thank you to my teaching staff. They're just amazing. They started off slow with the whole Zoom concept and the direct instruction. and it is building and building and building. In fact, when I mentioned this week that we only have 3 more weeks, and I was planning on doing a couple of things, they were like, please, please don't interrupt our instruction anymore. We're just now getting this going. So the Zoom lesson things and all those other online video stuff is working. I want to say thank you to the social emotional learning supports that are going on at our school. Our school counselor, our psychologist, you know, even our social worker on leave called me and said, what can I do to help out? I even called Mark Conway, our school resource officer. He's helping and reaching out to families just to make sure that we're taking care of those social emotional needs of our children. I really want to say an amazing thing is going on with our teachers. They've already started talking about what instruction is going to look like, assuming we get back to school in August, assuming we're in classroom, knowing that children spent roughly 2/3 of their school year in the classrooms this year and missed 1/3 of in-class instruction and went to this new model called the remote learning. They're trying to figure out what that means. And I'll just frame that to you this way. Mrs. Eaton has taught 3rd grade most of her career in Hampstead, but she's going to start off next year finishing the 2nd grade year for the kids that are coming up to her classroom. So she's going to be meeting with the 2nd grade team to see what do I need to do to fill in what happened. Instruction is really important to our teachers, and they want to make sure that they can provide that this fall. Hopefully we can be there in close to typical setting. I want to say thank you to the support staff at the Central School, and I know I'm also speaking for Mrs. Denola. This is happening at both schools. Our support staff are just incredible what they're doing. We have paraeducators that are finding ways just to help out. Some of them are showing up at school, doing things, arranging things in the community, going in Zoom sessions with kids, reading books, making recordings, just doing things for children. That's the reason they come to work every day, and now they're coming to work through a computer. Our secretarial staff, they're quietly just making sure that the business of our office is running. Payroll, budget, mail, communication. I mean, we even have a secretary that just goes, picks up the mail, sorts through it, and then reaches out to the teachers to say something important came through. Should I get it to you somehow? Scan it and send it to you. Our custodial maintenance crew, I hope you've driven by Central School. It's looking fabulous. Jeff's doing a nice job with his crew. They're doing some really nice things outside of our school. They use this as an opportunity to use the staff to do some of the work around there. And this also is a good opportunity to bring some contractors to do some nice cleanup work outside of the school. As an example, that old stone wall that's been sitting in front of the basic office area started to crumble over the last few years. They literally ripped the whole thing out and built a brand new one. It's beautiful, just drive by. And the tech team, we couldn't be running in a virtual environment if we hadn't been set up here. Our tech team for years has been setting us up with massive technology. And now that we're right in the middle of this whole rush of needing technology to make school work, they're just amazing. We've got some great people. They're providing 24/7 support for families, children, teaching staff, principals that get lost. I mean, they're doing all of that wonderful stuff. They're great. And the last one I want to say thank you to are the families. And the best way that I can frame this is we all know that the child's first teacher is a parent. We also know that one of the hardest things for a parent to do is to let their kid go to school. And the parents are now experiencing something in 2020 that they never expected to do, which is they're back at home for all of that learning, and they're supporting all these other people that are helping them do this. So it's in Hampstead, that's a new partnership, which I've grown to appreciate. I've spoken to many families how it's stressful for them. Yes, we have families that have been, hit by the COVID. Yes, we've had families that are just hit by all the economic challenges, but they're stepping up and taking care of the children. One common thing that I'm hearing is the parents are looking forward for the children coming back to school. And I will say that I think we're all together on that one. We're looking forward to getting the kids back into our school. So thank you, board, for being so supportive of the administration and the staff just to make this work. And most importantly, thank you, Hampstead. It's really a great town to be in. And I can say I've been here for quite a while and I've never seen anything like this. And it's just wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. That was very well put. Any questions from board members for Mr. Collins?
Thank you very much, Julie.
Question. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Jim.
Megan, go ahead.
So in regards to enrolling new students next year, I think there's a requirement that they need to have an up-to-date physical exam. And I'm wondering if there's been any discussion on that with the doctor's offices being closed.
Actually, the expectation is when a child enrolls in school that they've had a physical within the past year. And the further expectation is if a parent enrolls their child and they do not have a physical within the past year, all that we ask them to do is to provide us the name of the physician or the doctor's practice and when they plan on having that physical. So I would say if a parent had that as a challenge, they could probably contact their doctor's office and say, can I get an appointment? If they said to us the appointment is out whatever time frame, that would not prohibit the child from coming to school. The only challenge we would have would be with immunizations, but nurses know how to work around that one as well.
Mhm. Thank you.
Caitlin, if I could.
Yes.
No, I know a little bit about this. Yeah, the doctor's offices right now, the priorities for physicals, they're scheduling 18-year-olds, like seniors and that will need them for college, I believe on Saturdays. And they're that's the priority right now, at least with the local doctor's offices. And then they basically said, we'll circle back around. But again, Principal Collins has it right. We have more time with the ones that are ours, but these are, they've made it a priority with the students that'll be transitioning to the next level for the, because obviously they're backlogged incredibly in terms of physicals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Collins, for getting Central School through this time.
It's wonderful. Thank you for your support.
All right,
Of course.
I'm gonna go ahead and unmute Mrs. Denault.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hello. I would like to just add to Mr. Collins' sentiment of gratitude towards our staff and our students and our parents. And during this unprecedented time, we are really, we are learning so many things. And I think one of the first things that Dr. Metzler said to us at the beginning of this is that, we will never teach the same way again. And there are going to be some wonderful things that come out of learning new practices. And we're seeing that every single day where our teachers are taking risks. They're learning new ways of using the technology that we have, that we are so blessed to have. And our kids were ready day one in that venue, and we've really gathered a lot of momentum. So I'm just very, very happy with all that we have achieved at this point. And I thank the school board for having the vision years ago of saying, yes, we need laptops in our kids' hands so they can access education, and who knew that this would happen. So I would just like to go through my report and just kind of give you a little feeling of some normalcy. We've been trying to just do some crazy things with the kids outside of the school day, give the parents a little break. We're doing some dance parties on Friday nights. This past Friday night from 7 to 7:45, we had all the sixth graders at a Zoom dance party, and we danced, and the teachers showed up, and the kids we all saw each other, and it was a blast. So we're trying to institute certain social pieces so they can see one another and see us and know that we're okay and they're okay. We sent out progress reports on Friday, and the purpose of that is to let the parents know how the children were engaging in remote learning. So they were given whether the child was fully engaged, partially engaged, or not engaged in the remote learning, along with some comments of support and encouragement. Another thing that new this year that we've done because of the pandemic is our yearbooks. All the yearbooks are being mailed home to the students, and we are also have a virtual signing of them with parents' permission. So the students can go on and sign each other's yearbooks during a certain amount of time, and have a keepsake that's honored and with positive messages. And there's an adult overviewing the messages before it goes to print. So thank you to Tree Ring. I think our yearbook this year is outstanding. Thank you to Mrs. Hanson and Mrs. Carrillo and members of the yearbook committee who worked so hard on this. thank you to the students. This week is Spirit Week, so we started off yesterday as Superhero Day. Today was What You're Reading, that's what we called it, and everyone took pictures of books that they're reading right now to share with one another. And in just a matter of keeping our school pride, we ended with our wearing our school colors on Friday with a Spirit Day. So that's a little extra thing for the kids to be focusing on. The transitions, I'll tell you, this evening, our transition video is going out to the 4th grade parents and for them to share it with the students. And our student ambassadors put together a video with Mrs. Karpinski. She worked like a dog getting this done, and it was out of her comfort level. She made a movie. The editing was spectacular. I'm just so proud of her. And it's the kids are our 5th graders are talking to the 4th graders about things that they were concerned of during the summer and getting ready to come up to be a hawk. And the kids spoke from their hearts of, you don't have to worry about this because this is right here. And someone's always there to tell you where to be. And just a real pump up. And it was from the mouths of our baby hawks. So that's going out this evening. If you'd like a copy of it, I'm happy to share it with you. But it's one of those transition pieces that we are pretty good at, I think. We do a lot of opportunities for the kids to come up to the school. Our ambassadors go down to the central school. So we're just being in contact with our 4th graders almost every single week. We had 2 live Zoom sessions for our parents, our 4th grade parents, last week to meet with the choral director and the band director to talk about what does it mean to be involved in the arts and that performing arts. And we had amazing. I think we had almost 40 parents that attended. So we had an afternoon session and an evening session for any questions they had. So I have to thank Mr. Robbins and Mr. Fisher for putting that together. Today I had the honor of calling 2 families with some very good news. As you know, we are part of the New England League of Middle Schools, and we are a spotlight school. And every year we have scholar leaders are selected from our school. Two students are selected by all of the teachers, not just the 8th grade teachers, but it's 2 8th grade students were chosen to represent us as scholar leaders. And usually we have a big dinner here in Manchester at a sit-down dinner and photo opportunities. However, this year it's going to be a little different. And so we are having their plaques made as we speak. And this year's recipients of the Scholar Leaders Award is Morgan Berard and Adam Day. So I spoke to both of their families, and I think you can see them on the gallery that I asked them to be here and celebrate their achievement. Just a few things of what makes a scholar leader. And if you know either of these students, you'll know that this is true. They are strong hawks and they make us very proud. Excellent attitude towards learning, provides service to classmates and school, contributes ideas that improve the civic life of the school, exemplifies positive attitudes and inspires positive behaviors in others. So those are just a few of the attributes that we use as a guide of picking our scholar leaders. So congratulations to Morgan Berard and Adam Day.
Virtual clapping. I wish we could. I wish we could welcome them at a meeting, but congratulations to both of them.
Thank you. National Junior Honor Society applications were sent out and were due this past Friday. Our faculty council already has a spreadsheet of 34 applicants with letters, and we will be joining together and picking out our members of the National Junior Honor Society in the next few weeks, or actually the next week or so. Mrs. Joseph put out a really good video of our Hawk Awards. She asked all the teachers to do a video of themselves talking about who the recipient of the Hawk Awards for Q3 is, and she put it all together and edited it into a really nice program. She called all the parents beforehand and spoke to them and told them, let it be a surprise, just like we do at school. And then went live with it so the parents could sit with their children and hear these testimonies of why their child was a Hawk Award recipient. Another cool thing that we're doing is part of the New England League of Middle Schools. There was a conference and back in March. It was we just came back from it when everything happened. And Mrs. Mayu and Mr. Fisher were part of a collaborative piece called Me in a Minute. And they are working with our 8th graders starting now. And the 8th graders are working on a conjunction with their teachers and their advisory teachers, talking about what is special that makes them themselves. It's Me in a Minute, and they have 1 minute to put together a presentation of the things that have gotten them to be at this level at 8th grade, whether it was sports, whether it was their academics, their family life, their challenges, their achievements. And just, we're trying to celebrate the whole class and make sure that every single child has something to celebrate and to make some noise. And we are gonna kick that off on May 27th. So it's something new and exciting, and the 8th graders are meeting the challenge pretty well at this point. I'm open to any questions you have about what's been going on, and I will just say, Jeff Mackey, our school buildings have never looked so beautiful. Really stunning. And again, technology, they've been fantastic. I've been doing Chromebook runs. I meet parents in Chester. I live in Manchester, so they'll meet me at the police station in the parking lot if there's any exchange of technology, if things are going, if something's wrong with their equipment. I have another one tomorrow afternoon that I'll do at exchange. Parents are very grateful, and our technology department has definitely, we have enough equipment and enough if anything happens.
Great, thank you. Any questions from board members for Mrs. Denola?
Thank you.
I just want to say I'm thoroughly enjoying the dance challenge. Just putting that out there. My favorite part of the week. I would like to know the name of your dance partner, though. You had a dance partner for yours.
Oh, that was my granddaughter, Juliet. All of a sudden, she flies through the room, and she's 8. So, oh my goodness, yeah.
I meant the bear or the...
Oh, the bunny. The bunny.
Sorry.
It was supposed to be a rag doll, but yeah.
I got it.
Dance to save my life, but I'll do anything for those kids.
And that says it all right there. You guys will do anything for these kids, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else questions? Okay, I don't think so. Thank you so much, Mrs. Denola. Do we have anyone else doing administrative reports, or should I move ahead?
That was it for administrator.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. So next up, we're going to talk about grade 8 Chromebooks. Mr. Flynn, I believe you're going to be speaking to us about that.
Yeah, so this is my first cycle through the Hsdsb School District, and at this time of the year is when we are, ending the school year with our 8th grade students. And those Chromebooks I'll say that there's no longer a life cycle in them. So what we're requesting from the board is to gift them to the 8th graders. So at the end of the school year, they will not be turning them in. They would then become their own devices that they could use at home.
Yes, and for history, for anyone who's not aware, we have done this the last several years where we gift those Chromebooks. As Mr. Flynn said, they've been used well, and it doesn't make sense for us to do anything like cycle them back through other kids. So I would like to have a motion to gift the 8th grade class their current Chromebooks. We can have discussion if we want, but I'd like to see a motion first, if we can.
So move.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions on this from anybody? Okay, seeing none. Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Miss Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
and Mrs. Yusenka.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, Dr. Metzler, you're going to talk to us about the drop-off and pickup plan for personal items and materials that may still be in the schools.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for allowing me to share this executive summary with you. I'm certainly not going to read the executive summary to you, but first, I know we're having some technical difficulties, so I hope everybody can hear us and see us, and we're doing the best we can. I know there's been some sound breaking up, but can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Yes.
What? Oh, just kidding.
Thanks, Jim.
You had me. Hey, so what we did was, Mr. Flynn and certainly, all the administrative staff and, our principals and had to look at a way of, okay, now how do we get access to the buildings? How do we make this safe? How do we get people to pick things up? How do we get things dropped off? And so put together a pretty comprehensive schedule here. Luckily, we're small enough where we can spread some of these activities out. And so if you take a look quickly at that executive summary in your packet, it's called the School's Drop-Off Pickup Plan for Materials and Personal Items. We have a few days from the 1st of June through the 5th, and that's for the central and middle school staff. Then you'll notice, we get into the distributing exchange period from June 8th to 12th. Again, looking at what we can do for families and students, medications, medical related items, all those sorts of things, with a pretty detailed practicing safety throughout the entire process. So short of reading the entire thing to you, we'll post this and get messages out to, obviously our staff knows, but that families know. And then if there are any families that really can't make this particular schedule work for them, I ask that they please just email the building principal, and we'll try to set up what we can. Hopefully this will take care of a critical mass of people that need to get in and out of our buildings through those first couple weeks of June. And we'll be able to kind of get them their personal items, collect what we need to collect, and be able to prepare for the summer and hopefully for a nice smooth opening. So I didn't know if you had any questions or if you wanted more detail than what I just provided.
Can you just talk, you have it on here, but I'd like to have it out in the meeting on the medications, because I know that's been questions that have come up in town about parents retrieving medications. Can you just talk to that real quick?
Excellent. Yes. Families may pick up medications. However, that's going to require in advance a separately scheduled visit in the front lobby of the school. So medication will only be handed to a parent or a legal guardian and may require a signature for release. So obviously that depends on the medication and obviously the circumstances. But yeah, again, we're asking people to make separate appointments for that, because that's going to require a little different collection and bagging. And certainly we want to make sure that the medication makes it into an adult's hand, legal guardian, parent, those things. In the event that creates a challenge, again, please let our building principals know, and we'll see what we can do. But hopefully, again, that'll take care of a critical mass, or almost all of the people that need to pick up medications.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members have questions or comments? Okay, I think that's it for that one then. Next up on the agenda, we have academic grades and scoring comparisons. Mr. Flynn, you're going to talk about Q3 versus quarter 1 and quarter 3.
Yeah, thank you. This question came up, I forget if it was the last meeting or the meeting before, and we wanted to make sure that we were evaluating remote learning, and making sure that if we were going to see any statistical trends, that we identified them, intervened on them, whatever we needed as a district. We took a macro level look at this. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you real quick. And we took a look at the middle school to see, because they grade out every course that we offer. So what you're looking at currently is we went ahead and did Q2 again just to do more analysis, but you're seeing the total number of grades that have been given. So that's every student in every section that we offer in the middle school. So don't get overwhelmed by the numbers. But we did do a complete breakout from top to bottom so that we could make sure that if there were going to be any large trends that we were able to identify them. As you can see pretty clearly, there has been no drop off. Now remember, we didn't go into distance learning until March 13th. So that was technically only about 10 to 12, I think maybe 10 instructional days of remote learning at the time. So as you can see, it's pretty level, it's pretty steady. Obviously the one that stands out to everyone, if your eyes are going right to the F where it goes from 1 to 10, please keep in mind that typically our third quarter at the middle school level tends to be the most challenging in depth of knowledge. And I'm not shocked at the data, but I would say that data is the normal trend for sure. So we felt pretty good about it. We're obviously going to do another analysis at the end of Q4 here with an entire quarter of remote learning. And I can certainly be happy to come back to the board at that point too. But I anticipate seeing some greater successes as we became more comfortable with what we were doing through remote learning, both not only on the teacher side, but on the student side.
And Caitlin, if I may?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we also did the same thing. So, you analyze the data and, that's right where my eyes go, because at the same point, did things get easier? Are there more A's, or did things get more difficult? Are more kids struggling? And so, not that I want to get into this discussion publicly, but our remote learning created challenges, obviously for families and students, but for particular subjects to be able to be completed remotely. And I think that 1 to 10 is reflective, even though it was only the back end of that quarter. And I don't know what fourth quarter is going to look like, but I think in those same subjects, there are certain subjects that the remote learning creates challenges, and some households, families are making decisions about, and they're prioritizing work. And so not that any class has more value than another class, but some things are not getting completed like they would be if the students were in a brick and mortar or actually in a school. So we know what that means. We're looking at that. We'll certainly work closely with those instructors, especially, through this fourth quarter. And then in the event that we ever have to revisit remote learning for any reason in the near or future at any point. So anyway, so we have some explanations for that. I'd like to take a look at the fourth quarter and see if we were able to mediate that, that the kids that struggled in those subjects that were hard to do online.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions on this? Comments? Okay. Thank you for putting this together. It is interesting to see, and it certainly does, as you mentioned, Mike, that, we were really only a couple weeks into remote learning by the end of Q3. But I think it's good that we're looking at these to see how the remote learning is impacting our kids. I know that go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and I think I just think it's appropriate that we are doing it, and I want to commend because the question came up a couple weeks ago about the students that may not be participating, like Dr. Metzer said, but the administrators in this district are on top of it. They're on top of everything, and the personal phone calls that they've made or emails and that they've set up. So that's why I think the success has been greater, is because of the oversight from both the teachers and the administrators, and we're not allowing anyone to kind of fall behind.
Yeah, Caitlin, if I could, our participation is outstanding when we compare Hampstead to other districts, not only just New Hampshire, but nationwide in terms of, and so this is great because one of the questions the board would be asking us, what else do you need to build on this success, to get better at what you do? I think we're going to be able to answer some of those questions based on this data. Now, this is typical data that we would look at anyway, and principals look at it, teams look at it, individual teachers look at it, and they do. You ask yourself some hard questions. Why do I have a higher failure rate, or am I too easy or am I too challenging? So I think I just feel like it's just nothing short of remarkable what our instructional staff and leadership in our buildings has been able to do in such a short time. It's truly incredible. And I was worried about what this might look like, and certainly I don't want to predict what the fourth quarter will look like, but pleasantly surprised really with how consistent it stayed. So it showed that, there's a steady hand, in our buildings, making sure that our kids are getting what they need, and the ones that are falling short for any reason. And Mr. Flynn alluded to it, they're reaching out, our building principals, our teachers, our counselors, our nurses, we're just getting tremendous support, kind of both ways. We need support and our families need support. So, so thank you. And we'll update this when we do our kind of remote learning wrap up, or what the whole thing looked like. Maybe that's the May 26th meeting, or maybe that's the first meeting in June, I think June 9th. We'll be able to give you some sort of recap of the entire experience, if you will.
Okay, I think that's great. Let's target the first meeting in June for that, because that'll give everyone a little bit of time when the kids are actually done. I know our teachers and administrators and support staff will still be going for a few weeks after the 29th, but I would say let's plan it for that first meeting in June.
No, that's great. We appreciate the time, because pulling that data together, and you're right, there's a lot of year-end activities. So, so thanks. Yeah. So we'll, Melissa, we'll get that for the 9th of June, if you could. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? Okay. Using what Dr. Metzler just said to segue into our next agenda item, we want to talk about our end of year activities for this school year, and kind of what has been decided or is still being worked on at this point. Mike, I think are you talking about
I'm on.
that?
So
Yeah.
Dr.
Okay.
Metzler, do you want me to go first, or?
Yeah, why don't we do this? We provided the board, and it was really something we've been working on, and we've really been taking our time, hoping that we'd have more opportunities to do some things in person. So we put this, and this was a good target date of the 12th to kind of get this out. So in your packets today, you kind of see a list of the challenges or the events that we absolutely want to have. And so Mr. Flynn and myself, we kind of talked with building leadership to get to, all right, let's see what we can do. So Mike, at this point, if you want to share
Sure.
that document, and we can talk about individual events, although I'd like to try to not do that, because this could go on for quite some time, but more in general about what we can and can't do, and what the buildings feel like are our best options at this point. So thanks, Mike.
Sure. And we sent this out to you. It was probably later in the afternoon here, but the administrative team has been working on solidifying things. So that's why on the document you'll see some dates and some dates not posted, because it's still a little bit of a moving target depending on the students and the staff. But the areas of focus, I think, is a good way to look at this. So the areas of focus that we didn't want to lose sight during this remote transition would be our 4th grade. So if you take a look at those things, you'd see that not only has the ball not been dropped, but I think it's probably been elevated a little bit on the amount of transition events that are occurring. Granted, they are remotely, but they're still going to get to have lunch with the principals. They're still going to get to have classroom meetings with the student service team. They're still getting the video, as Ms. Denola spoke to. So 4th grade is still receiving those transition activities. The other area of focus has been the 8th grade as well. And you'll see a couple of the highlights in there. One thing, really punching it back and forth was Dr. Metzler was trying to, and I know he'll talk about graduation in a minute, but we did lock in a date for sure, just so people can understand the virtual side of it. And that's going to be on June 4th. So some things that we've locked in, you'll get to see here. We're trying to do as much as we can so that the community and the students understand how much we miss them and care. And certainly, I think June will be a different target if we're able to do smaller group stuff. And I know Dr. Meltz is going to speak to that as well. But I want to commend both the staff and the administration for these ideas. I make fun of Maria and Lynn all the time because they're great party planners. I'm not sure that I'd be able to come up with the type of comprehensive list that they have, but they're always thinking about ways to interact. And Mr. Collins and Dr. Cheney, the videos that they've been sending out. So they're all remote principaling for the first time in their careers as well. For as long as Mr. Collins has been around, this is the first time for him on everything as well. So we're all just trying to do what's best for kids and trying to show them how much we care about.
Thank you.
So in terms of looking at the list, right, our hope is, that we can celebrate and put together as many of these events as we can between now and the end of the year. That being said, we're still holding out hope for, the month of July. And so in the event that we have to do a lot of these things virtually, we're talking about ways that we can get classes of kids or, celebrations in person, perhaps later if possible. So we just didn't want the time to go by and have this all be in everyone's rearview mirror, hoping that we'd be able to do something later and then only to find out that nothing has really changed and it's July and then it's August. And then, so we're going to put together, with our teams, as many of these events, with the best virtual options, with parades and different things involved with some of these. And we're going to get that information out. We're going to post it. And we just want people to participate and just enjoy the fact that we can do this the best we possibly can, Hampstead style. Everything will be top notch. And then in the event, if we can get together in person down the road, we will. I know the parents at the middle school, are holding out hope for a semi-formal at some point for the 8th grade in the summer. That's great. Maybe a barbecue, those sorts of things. But our focus will really need to be to celebrate, our students and their achievements, and really focus in on those transition years to do the best we can. So they may get better transitions than perhaps we've done in the past. They may get both. They'll get maybe something in, in early June, which will be primarily in a virtual kind of sense, and then perhaps we'll transition again in person when we can. So I didn't know if you had specific questions. Like I said, I didn't want to open up the floor to talk about all these events individually, but I did want you to know that our administrative team and people are doing everything and anything, and we're holding out hope for as long as we possibly can. But it's May 12th, and we need to get some of these events are going to take several weeks to plan correctly. We have some vendors that will help us with some of these. If you can imagine, there's a lot of new business models out there now for how to do some of these things virtually. So we're getting some assistance, or potentially getting some assistance from outside while we plan these as well. So anyway, I didn't know if you had any specific questions.
Thank you for all the work, hard work. Appreciate it.
I don't have any specific questions. I think when you look at this list, it does really illustrate how much we do, how much the district does at the end of the year. And I think any attempt to give the kids some sort of some measure of these events as we go, I think is admirable. We'll just keep going. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, I guess we don't have any other questions on end of year activities, and you don't need any action from us. We're just going along with what is being put forward here.
Well, the only thing, Caitlin, the final thing is, I think what people can look forward to is these will be advertised, and you'll see them on our websites, and we'll get that information out as many ways as possible. Because I don't want people to feel like they don't know what's going on, so. And we've involved our students, we've involved our families, we've asked, we have a pretty good understanding about, and you and I talked in great length about this. It's very hard, is it safe enough, or are you doing enough? And I know people have strong feelings on both sides. So we need to do this. So we're going to do it the best way we possibly can. And we'll get that information out as soon as possible. Okay. So thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Flynn, you're going to talk to us about the feasibility of doing school board meetings at some point, perhaps in our schools rather than town hall.
Sure. So this request came, I think, about a month ago. And my team and I took a look at it. And again, not to review the entire executive summary, I'm going to give you the short version verbally, and you can ask any questions at the end. The middle school, since we upgraded all of our equipment this past year, that is not a problem at all. So that's where we've also had our public hearings this year, and with all of our new equipment, that can also go out to through the cable company immediately if we were to use the middle school. You'll see in your summary there that if we want to broadcast live from the central school, we would have to provide some upgraded equipment, some microphones, things of that nature. And the way that would look in order to broadcast live is we would be filming onto a computer and zooming out, and the cable company would actually log in, as you see here on the meeting side, and they would be broadcasting out through the Zoom. So that would be the feasibility in order to do broadcasting live from the central school. Now we can film at any point during the central school with an upgraded camera and microphones and post as a recording the following day. But I wanted to provide you the what it looked like if we wanted to screencast essentially out from the central school. So is it doable? Absolutely. And you know, speaking with Dr. Metzler earlier, if we do choose to do this, it'd be more about setting up the schedule so that the time and preparation can go into making sure that we're ready to roll for those meetings.
Mike, I have a question about middle school. Would we be tied into having meetings in the cafeteria if we
Correct.
wanted to be, okay, so if we wanted to be able to do it live, it has to be just like we have the public meeting and a public hearing and deliberative.
Correct. So that would be out of the system in the cafeteria.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments? Kind of been talking about this for, it's come up a couple times over the last few years. I know that this number on the executive summary is less than what we had before, which is a plus. So yeah, anyone else have comments on this or questions?
Caitlin, if I could.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea a lot of having, you know, one meeting a month perhaps at the town hall and one meeting in one of our schools each
Mm-hmm.
month, and then highlighting, you know, some of our students from that particular school and getting your building report. So it seems like it's not a lot of money, and it looks like it provides us tremendous flexibility to have 3 different meeting sites. And it also seems like we'd be able to probably broadcast things from the central school live. And they have so many wonderful performances and things that it might be great to be able to get some of those live onto cable, like almost like the meeting. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it's something that you can support. We can discuss it more, but if we do it, I think, you know, having scheduled meetings in the 3 different sites throughout the year will be, and, you know, maybe, you know, it might encourage some more community involvement too, or attendance at the meetings. You know, a lot of times if you involve students at the beginning, we might have more parents involved, and they might feel more comfortable in the schools perhaps than at town hall. I don't know if that will happen, but I mean, that's always been what we hope would happen if we, in the event that we're able to have meetings at a school. So those are, you know, that's my hope.
Yeah, and you do raise a good point that this equipment can be used hopefully to put some of our great events that the students put on out in a more live format rather than recorded.
A question to Dr. Metzler, are you suggesting then that rather than pick a school, that ideally you would like to see us rotate middle school, central school, town hall?
Yeah, I thought, you know, with our 2 meetings a month, it might be a nice idea to have, you know, like maybe the first meeting of the month's at town hall and the second meeting is in the school, or vice versa, something along those lines. But I think in addition to that, I think Caitlin's point is the following: is to be able to broadcast live from both buildings would be tremendous.
Yeah, I would personally, because this goes back about 4 years ago, I think this was brought up. And I'm not that concerned that it be at the town hall at all. And that would also then free up another night for the town to have meetings there if they needed it. But I would be in favor of supporting the $5,391.86 so that we could set up what we needed at the central school and have it at the middle school, and maybe just go back and forth between the two schools. That would be my idea, rather than using town hall at all, unless someone can think of a good reason why we should be at town hall.
This is David. Karen, I agree with you. If we just switch straight to the central and middle school, I'd be in favor of that.
Good.
I would agree, as long as like Melissa's going to keep us on track and remind us where we're going each time.
Caitlin, if we're not at the central school, we're at the middle school. How's that?
We can just go up the access road. You know, we'll just walk up if we're in the wrong spot.
You could just have it that the first meeting is always at central and the second one is at the middle school. Okay.
That would be easy too. I'm just saying. Somebody remind me, because I lose track.
So I would make a motion that we approve the $5,391.86 that's necessary to set up the central school. And that starting, I don't know, we need a date, starting at a certain day or at the beginning of the, I don't know, when we're allowed, this is hard.
Yeah, when we're allowed to meet again.
When we are allowed to meet in person in the buildings again, that we have it at the middle school and the central school.
Second.
Okay, Jim, second. I have one discussion just to maybe amend it. Should we amend the motion just to round up to say 5,500 in case there's any fluctuation? I'm okay with doing an exact amount. I just didn't know if there was any benefit to.
Oh, you're such a spendthrift.
Well, yeah.
I know, sorry.
So my tech team has an eagle eye. So those were approximate numbers coming from them. So either way would be fine.
Yeah, the not to exceed, I'm sorry, excuse me. The not to exceed is typically a good strategy. You know, whether it's 5,500 or 6,000, just that way you can get it all done and then just report out on the actual costs.
Okay.
I will amend my original motion, and the amendment would be to not to exceed $6,000.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that before we vote? Okay, seeing none. Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Oh, sorry, Melissa, my fault.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Mike.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Ms. Mack, I'm sorry, how did you vote?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. I would vote yes, if you're at me.
Thank you. Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jasenka?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Caitlin, if I could?
Yes.
Quickly. So what we'll do from here, we'll put together a schedule like I normally would start in August, and hopefully we'll be able to meet in person. But if not, so we'll put that, we'll make the schedule. And I think if the spirit really would be to alternate the schools, right? So just going to go back and forth from central school to middle school, and so we can put together that schedule for next school year, and then hopefully we'll be back in the buildings and able to meet. Does that work?
That's great. And actually, I mean, if we're meeting in one of the schools, maybe we would have more space to be socially distant-ish. I don't know. If we're meeting in the cafeteria at middle school, we can spread everybody out 6 feet.
And could you please?
I think we're small enough where I think, in terms of the board and the number of people, that we could have the meeting, have it filmed live, but be able to do it in person. And maybe that's something we can shoot for August, even in the event that the current situation doesn't change, but maybe we'll be able to do something like that. So
and definitely, obviously, just for board members, we would all have to be comfortable with that. If anybody wasn't, totally fine. We stick to Zoom. So we can discuss that later.
And also, could someone take it upon themselves to notify town hall that we're doing this so that they know that they will have the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month available to them if they needed it for something else.
Excellent. We'll take care of that. But what I'd like to do is have the equipment in hand, have it tested, make sure it's
Yeah.
working, but hold
Yeah.
on to those dates at town hall until we don't need them, if that's
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Because I'm gonna have to work with the cable commission too to work on the new setup as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Next up is SAU 55 reorganization planning. We are continuing to work on our plan to look at all of our options. We've had board members and administrators doing research on the best path forward for Hampstead as a single district SAU. At this point, I'm gonna ask for a non-public session under 91A:3 C personnel and L legal. And I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Melissa, will you poll the board?
Miss Malcolm?
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jasenka?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. It's 8:05.
Thank you. We will be coming back because our meeting's not done, but we are going to move into non-public now. Thank you.
Have resumed recording. All set.
Thank you. We've returned to public session as of 9:56 p.m. We do have a vote to take. Karen, do you want to make the motion or do you want me to make the motion?
I'm fine. I'll make the motion. I move that the board approve and accept the draft of the reorganizational plan as presented and direct Hampstead School District Council to commence personnel negotiations.
Do we have a second? Jim, I think you're on mute if you were going to second that.
My fault. He just texted me. 1 second.
Oh, sorry. Somebody else second.
I'll second it.
Okay. David seconds.
I third it.
Sorry, Jim. My fault.
No, no problem.
Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Yeah, can I read that motion back just to make sure that I have it correct?
Of course.
The motion is that the board approve and accept the draft of reorganization planning as presented and direct school district council to proceed with negotiations.
To accept the draft of the reorganizational plan.
Yes, I have that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Miss Malcolm?
Yeah.
I believe that was a yes. Did anyone else hear that? I didn't quite get that.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
And Mrs. Jasenka?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. And just, this is still in draft form, so we're not going to be releasing anything about it yet. Still finalizing some pieces. Thank you. Okay, still working our way through the agenda. I wanted to bring up central school planning. I know this is little bit of a weird time to do this because we don't have any kids in the schools right now, but you know, one of the things this board was dedicated to was continuing to talk about the fact that Central School still has many deficiencies that we have to deal with. And, you know, we are going to be looking at, again, how the best way we can do this is to get our school renovated, to get the space we need, to get the security updates we need. So this is still in front of us, and it's still something that we as a board are going to be talking about, and hopefully bringing the community in on to look at our best plan. We're still moving forward, and we'll continue to do what we need to do to put the project forward for any building aid that might be available. Things are obviously very up in the air right now, as far as budgeting and money, but you know, something that we will need to remember is that the town in March did pass the surplus to be added in at $400,000 if we have that surplus at the end of the year. So we'll be looking at what we can do with capital reserve, what our options are there, and then additionally, if we do any sort of phased planning and put that out, or if we put full projects out next year, but we don't want to leave that and not talk about it until November of this coming year. So we are still talking about it. I don't know if any other board members want to speak to this, but just because the kids aren't in the school doesn't mean that all these problems that we have there go away. So we need to keep that at the forefront. But I don't know if any other board members have comments on that, but I did want to make sure we kept it on the agenda and we continue to talk about it. I would think that at some point we're going to bring that construction committee back together virtually or in person, depending on when we're talking about it, but
So this
it's
is
still
David.
there.
Caitlin, this is David. My comment is we should get on that sooner than later, because I think that's one, you know, detriment was last year was we really didn't get into it until September timeframe, if not maybe even closer to October. I don't see the reason why we wouldn't want to start a committee sooner than later in the coming month.
So I know it's late tonight and I want to get through the rest of this as well, but Melissa, could you put this down to add for the next meeting, where we actually will talk about a committee and maybe assigning some board members who are going to kind of head this effort, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. So we'll talk about that the next meeting.
Yep.
Does anybody else have comments on that? Okay. Board comments and correspondence. I don't have, I don't think I have anything. David, do you have anything?
No, just the usual. Thank you to all the teachers, admins, everybody. There's a lot of outpour community support lately, and it shows in much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you. Karen?
No, the same. I just want to make sure that the staff, administrators know how much we appreciate them. And I want them to know that as school board members, we are here, and one of our most important jobs is to provide the support and resources that they need going forward to help all our kids. So I want them to know that they can rely on us. That's
Thank
it.
you. I would second that. Jim?
Well, I have a second grader and a fourth grader, and the support from their teachers has been fabulous. They look forward to Dillard's announcements on Monday mornings. And with my fourth grader, her moving into middle school next year, I as a parent really appreciated the video that we received the other day of the middle school and the tour and the orientation and talking about band and music and all that stuff. That was greatly appreciated. I guess also I wanted to, I don't know when we'll talk about this, but I know other schools in the country maybe even, I thought I heard Haverhill is talking about going to school part-time next year. I don't know about Haverhill. It was just a rumor I heard from someone who thought they heard it from someone that lives down there. But I know other schools in the country have talked about, half the class will go 9 to 12, and the other half will go 12 to whatever, and socially distance and space the kids out. When do we start talking about stuff like that? I guess.
Caitlin, if I could. Yeah, so that those guidelines are coming from the Department of Education, and there's a task force being put together. You know, there's the obvious options of returning to school full time, and the other obvious one is complete remote learning and everything in between. So I would imagine we'll be getting some guidelines, some options, and some things we can discuss about what's best for Hampstead. What our options are, but I wouldn't imagine we'd be getting any of those until probably into June or early July. So might be one of our planning meetings late in June into early July, but I don't think we're going to know for sure what September looks like, late August, September looks like until we get into June, I'm pretty sure. But that will be from the, the commissioner's task force working directly with the governor.
I guess I had a question, so when that does come down, is it district by district decision if they wanted to open up some or remote learn all, or is it you have to go by the Department of Education's decision?
That's a great question, and this is why it's hard to make a comparison between a very bureaucratic state like Massachusetts and New Hampshire, where local control is really the trump card. So if the governor allows access and we just follow the rules, but I think there will be a menu of options, and I think we'll have to just figure out what's best for Hampstead. But those will be local decisions, unless, of course, the governor doesn't allow us to open schools. But those guidelines, we'll have plenty of options, and I think if we sit down, we'll be able to probably put together what we think is in the best interest of both the town and certainly the district and the families that we serve.
I guess one more question. So let's say we can't open in the fall. Let's say there was a surge again in cases and we don't open. And I mean, this could happen 2 years from now, again, or not, some other issue. Are we going to get our teachers the training and technology to do full-on remote classes into our homes or something like that? Are we going to start looking at that, I guess?
Well, we already are. And so, basically we're building capacity and comfort level and skill set. As you know, and we don't need to relive the whole thing, in March, but we threw an awful lot at our teachers, and they've done just nothing short of remarkable. It's just been incredible. But we have some time now to prepare for the next chapter, whenever that may be. It could be a resurgence. It could be, we hope we're able to start traditional school in the fall, but we don't know yet. It could be a resurgence, and you're right, it could be years from now. But I think we've learned an awful lot through these 8 weeks or so about what we do well and what we need to work on. So I think as we do an inventory of what people need, and it's not just about it's part of its professional development. It might be hardware, it might be software, learning platforms. Having an opportunity to share your successes and things that you didn't so well with your colleagues. Some of the best feedback you get is from the person that's teaching right next door or down the hall. So that's going on now, but I think a chance to pause and really have an opportunity to share. We'll be able to build capacity. And I think our learning platforms and what we'll be able to do is only going to improve from here. I don't think teaching and learning in public schools will ever be the same. I think we've probably been changed for the better. It's something we'll build on. So I think, in the event that we're forced into full remote learning again, we're hoping that we'll have we'll be able to improve and certainly continue to get better. But I don't want, the spirit of this conversation really for the teachers to understand anything other than what they've done is remarkable, and will continue to be remarkable for our kids. So, yeah, that's what we're planning anyway. And so we've been doing that already, and we'll see kind of where we go. And we'll share that with you. There's certainly plenty of time for us to meet and share that with the board, so the public gets a real good feel about what we're doing, what our plans are, and and what the fall will look like. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Megan, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. I have a question and then I have a comment. So the question actually comes from another parent in the community. I just didn't know how to answer it. So I understand that the response will have many dependencies based on obviously the instruction that Governor Sununu provides. So, I mean, if there's any insight to be shared, it's welcomed. If not, I understand. But the question was, has there been any discussion around offering summer learning opportunities to students with IEPs?
Yeah, that's our traditional ESY program, extended year. And so through Karen Gallagher, and she was on the call earlier, and she'd do a much better job explaining this. But we were hoping that we'd be able to do something again in person in the summer, and in the event that we can't, we'll be doing something similar in terms of remote learning and looking for ways. Obviously there a lot of the students that require those additional services, they're independent, they're individual education plans. So, the services are very individualized and specialized for lots of different reasons. So, we'll continue to have those discussions and see what we can offer this summer. We're hoping that July looks different than May, and, can we have small groups? Would we be able to social distance and provide services in an ESY kind of program? I think those are questions that still don't have definite answers just yet. I think they're looking at the data and seeing how this soft opening is going to impact the communities, and I'm sure the governor will be advising as he has an opportunity to review that data. So, but there'll be some sort of ESY extended year program for those students, and also our recreation department is also planning similar activities in the event that we can't get together in person. So our kids will have access to the services that they need.
Sure. Okay, and then for my comment, so it relates to what school will look like when we go back to fall. As some of you may know, I'm a proponent for outdoor learning. And I've heard of other states, more so in the West, as well as countries in other parts of the world that are considering implementing an outdoor learning model. And for a variety of reasons, but maybe the primary reason being that, generally speaking, social distancing can be achieved easier outdoors than, say, in the confines of a schoolroom. It provides an alternative to reunite our students and teachers as we're transitioning from this state of quarantine to this state of getting back in the groove of things, I guess. And I do think the world is opening up and recognizing the benefits being in nature has on the individual. As I'm speaking with families and friends, and we're all resorting to the outdoor world to alleviate our cabin fever, find, an outlet for our stress. And I know Mr. Collins dropped off, but I want to give a big shout out to Ms. Kretschmer. She started an online group on Facebook with, I think there's over 1,000 members now across the US, and there are some members sprinkled outside of the US and other parts of the world. And it's an outdoor challenge where we all come together and encourage and inspire each other to get outside and reap the mental and physical health benefits as we're all working to overcome this pandemic. So I'm bringing this up as not just a short-term advantage centered on coronavirus. As I mentioned, I've been looking at outdoor learning for a while, and I think this could be a perfect opportunity to lay some groundwork for longer-term modeling of a greater outdoor element in education. So I guess my question is, and it sounds like the conversations will be held next month into July, but if there has been or will be any discussion about using the outdoor spaces at the schools to get us back up and running in kind of more of a safe and social distance setting. And if not, I would ask for genuine consideration of the idea. I really think the teachers and families in this community are in support of more outdoor time for our kids, regardless if we're going through a pandemic or not. And I guess they say in darkness there is light. And while it's very tragic what we're going through today with COVID-19, I do feel it is opening up opportunities and kind of in a sense forcing us to look at different ways of doing things. And this is something that I'm trying to appreciate when it comes to the virus. All of this is just a thought. I'm not an expert, but I am a parent and I'm willing to help influence change and support everyone if this is something that the school communities could consider. So sorry, I know that was long-winded.
No, and Caitlin, if I could.
Of course.
Yeah, no, Megan, thank you. We certainly, appreciate, what you're saying and looking at all the options that we will have. I think we're going to need to take a good look. I know we have some teachers that are comfortable using outside classroom kind of space, and others it could be more distracting, all depending on the subject and that sort of thing. So I think we're gonna have to take into consideration. That's part of that. Take an inventory. What do we have? What are our options? What are our best options? What are our safest options? I saw something today on just basically on outside seating for restaurants. How that was far more safe than indoor because of the airflow and those sorts of things. So there's so many things we're going to need to look at, and this is certainly one of them. If we have an opportunity, especially in those warmer, more conducive months, to be outside, to take an opportunity to do some outside learning or outside classrooms, if you will. I've been in districts where they built actual outside classrooms, believe it or not. Was outside seating to take a look at. So we have some good space, and we'll take a look, and so that'll be all part of those discussions we have with our administrative staff and looking at what the best options are. But thanks for sharing that.
Thank you, Dr. Metzler. I really wanted you to respond because that's a little bit more in your wheelhouse than in the board's. But I think, Megan, you make some good points. People are certainly looking to the outdoors more now than we ever have. So certainly something to be considered. Let's see what can be done. Okay, I think that's it for comments and correspondence. So finally, I know we're way past our timeline here, but Dr. Metzler, your consent agenda.
Excellent. So quick personnel report. Again, I know this has been like the Karen Gallagher celebration, if you will. And I talked to you about the outstanding job that she's always done and continues to do, even as she wraps up this final year. So she was able to recruit and hire 3 outstanding special educators that I'm bringing to you tonight. We have Melissa McCarthy, Central School BCBA behavior specialist, Noella Nardino, Hampstead Central School special education teacher, and a middle school special education teacher, and Laura Johnson. And so we bring these 3 to you, which will fully staff our special ed staff for the 2021 school year. Looking for a motion to accept these 3 nominations.
Can I have a motion to accept the 3 nominations that Dr. Metzler has brought forward?
A motion.
I think that was David. Second?
Second.
Okay, Melissa, will you, is there any discussion or questions? Okay, Melissa, will you pull the board, please?
Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney? I think he's muted.
Can I say yes for him if he texted me?
I know he keeps getting a lot of background noise, so that's why he mutes him. We're good. There you go.
Jim, say yes. I mean, say how you vote.
Yes. I will say yes because Caitlin told me to.
Great. I'm gonna get kicked off.
I say yes by my own volition.
I'm going to record all that in the minutes, you know.
Go ahead. You
Mrs.
can also
Rebecca?
say
Caitlin,
that I would have made the motion, but I couldn't because I was muted.
Well, I have now removed the lock button since it's only us left in the room. So you can now all unmute yourselves anytime you would like.
thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And lastly, Mrs. Yasenka, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries.
Outstanding. Thank you. And we welcome these three fine educators to the Hampstead School. I know they'll be here for many years, and we're fortunate to get them. Finally, in the superintendent's report, there's several things, and I know it's late, but I really feel you need to share these with you. First is the school safety audit. In your packets are school approval letters from Marjorie Schoonmaker's inspection visits to both the central and middle school on November 6th. Ms. Schoonmaker represents the New Hampshire Department of Education's Department of School Safety and Facilities Management. Both the central school and the middle school were shown to have satisfied the standards per the New Hampshire Administrative Rule ED 306 that requires schools to provide clean, healthy, and safe environments. You know, I can't say enough about our new facilities director, Jeff Mackey. You know, he was new to the job and really was just thrown this right on his lap from day one. You know, we toured the buildings with him. He was in attendance for all those visits and answered all the questions, worked with staff, all our staffs in both buildings, you know, had to make certain modifications based on DOE requirements, you know, where posters were on walls, you know, what fire retardant rug they may or may not have had, and both staffs, it feels like it was a million years ago, but it was only in November. So that's a great report that, you know, I get you back to really the spirit of it: clean, healthy, and safe environments. That's what we have for our kids in Hampstead, and we're very proud of it. And again, I want to commend Jeff Mackey for doing a great job. The second piece is you have a SPED aid filing. So in your packets is a letter to Karen Gallagher from the New Hampshire Department of Ed Bureau of Student Support. This letter indicates Hampstead's 2019-20 school year special education aid filing status, and we are required to file by July 1st. The reason for this is because we fall within the parameters set forth by the state to determine which districts need to submit and review paper invoices for submission of these funds. The letter also outlines those selection methods. So you have that information. Now, and finally, our annual notification letter from the United States Department of Ed. It's all about LEAs and FERPA and that sort of thing. So there's a letter in there explaining all that information. And finally, you know, we're looking at future addendas. I know we have quite a few items for discussion, but you'll have your end of the year FLES report. You know, the much anticipated Mike Flynn. I don't know if we'll get to this behavior management report that we talked about, but we will get to that at some point. We're still waiting on an update on the IDEA funds misallocation from the Department of Education. I know the superintendent in Chester is working diligently on that with the commissioner. So hopefully with Derry and Pinkerton, we'll be able to get those funds. But so that's my report, unless you have any additional questions for me.
I do not. Anybody have any questions?
No, thank you.
Nope, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other or old business that anyone would like to bring up? I would remind you that people are zipping their coats and getting ready to leave.
Long commute home.
All right. Seeing nothing, I'm going to say 10:24 p.m. We are adjourned.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.